I would say the selection criteria for open source technologies as it relates to video are the same as what you would do for deciding what type of software or what type of open source you use for anything that you're building, actually. First and foremost, does this piece of software do what you need it to do? Does it have the features that you're looking for? And then second, I think you said that greatly. I think the community is really, really important. You don't want to work with a product that has no support, that has no one adding to it, because what happens? When you need something, are you going to rely on the community to do it, or do you need to actually add to it yourself? Do you need to contribute to the community yourself and there's no one else helping you? That could be a waste. So I think that first and foremost is really about what can this tool do for you? Is it backed by a great community? And I don't know if there's that much value, at least personally to me, if there's a bunch of other folks using something or big names using something. It's really about, does it work for me and my team? Do we have the expertise to plug it into our system? We spend a lot of time building systems so that we can plug and play different tools. Will this work in with the rest of our ecosystem? Yes? No? If no, we're not using it.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would second that on just making sure that you have the team to implement it and back it up. And I mean, you know, there's details like with FFmpeg, if you put the input parameter in the wrong place, like it's going to have different results, and like you wouldn't necessarily know that unless you actually spend time with it and learn some of these things and learn how to optimize. And you know, that's very different from a proprietary system where you can call up support and read a manual, and not that FFmpeg has a manual, but there's a lot going on in there. Yeah. So yeah, totally. Like you just got to know what you're getting into.
So in my view, there is really two-step decision logic here, whether to use open source or not. First is, you try to think, do you really want to invest in that area or not? Or is this your core expertise, or this is not your core expertise? You still need to have this functionality in your system to build a product, but if you don't really want to invest in it, then there is a second question. And the second question it is between, let's select a vendor who does it, who provides this SDK or provides this functionality, or let's try to look around, maybe there is an open source project that does the same thing. And then if you try to look between a third-party vendor doing it versus open source, the first question is maturity, completeness, how credible it is, how proven it is. And if the difference between commercial implementation and open source is not significant, well, maybe open source is good enough.
And with us being broadcasters, it really kind of boiled down to what the purpose of the product was. We ran very lean. We didn't have a lot of people. Even with me having direct technical reports, we didn't have a lot of time. You know, I've been in this forever, so I could basic command lines for FFmpeg and stuff, but for a player, which is mission critical for us, I was at 43 TV stations and a cable network, and the player was critical, and I loved what you did, but I had to have somebody, if it broke, I could call and scream at, because I didn't have enough people to sit there and work with you or work with the community. So we ended up going with an outside vendor who I believe is based on your work. I'm not 100% sure, because I liked your product. It's just I couldn't support it myself, and I had to have, if it broke, I had to have support. You know, OBS is kind of interesting in the fact that sometimes you can get the community to listen to you, and other times the questions don't get answered ever. So the community behind it also plays a lot to do with it, because if I'm going to expect my neophytes at the TV stations to support themselves on these products, the community better not be old and mature and cranky like me, like the FFmpeg community is, whereas a newbie comes in, I mean, they're torn to shreds like it's a feeding time. So I have to also look at that. I mean, it might be the best support ever, but you have to get through so many levels of trolling and being called a noob. It's like I can't put my people through that.
Bye.